is entitled Leaves. Leaves have stories to tell, like that brown one basking in the sun like being at the beach and burning but loving the heat. Or the crimson and curled straggler, bleeding its last frost at the approach of winter and suddenly falling to a snow-covered terrain. But they hold on even in the wind that slams them back and forth like a screen door hanging by a hinge. Like dreadlocks, the weeping willow's creamy yellow tentacles sway, conversing with the spiked pine, together they bob and sway. But they are not permanent, neither leaf nor tree. They die and they disappear, and they are cut down, burned and infected. They fall prey to life too. Neglected, an entire rainforest is destroyed overnight as we, with our carefully selected trees symmetrically surrounding our houses, sleep warmly in our cotton sheets carefully planted in the center of our beds, we dream and we rest. Over in Haiti, they say the people are piled together, kept in close quarters and sharing diseases like conversations. Overnight, a large chunk of the population was eliminated by a natural disaster. A little girl woke up from brain surgery and had to relearn that her mother and sister, overnight, were killed. They cry and they scream in the streets under a government that lacks the funding to save its own people. It looks like war. It looks like cutting down trees. We know they are falling. An entire rainforest is destroyed overnight. This second piece is entitled Faith. The night was dark, and it was the first of its kind that ever seemed long. Morning couldn't come sooner, and the lark that should greet the day, but no one was home, and all the guests were gone. I was supposed to marry that day, but I didn't quite make it to the vows. And so the night, long, languorous, soaking, and tired, stretched in the sky. I didn't think anything could be as overwhelming as that sky. That night, like an unseen threshold buried under some green moss, in the mountain pass only I could now see, and I alone had to cross. Let it all expand. And they say the universe is expanding. Perhaps it appeared larger that night because I now felt smaller and overwhelmed. Did the sky ever apologize to the stars when watching one's archaic and gaseous frame flicker and fade out? I owed no apologies that night, except to my bleeding heart, trying to become a star in the sky, nameless and faceless, and collecting wishes that would never come true. I gave up on wishing that night, and to the eternal sky I looked, a whisper, too weak for a neighbor to hear, mumbled from my lips, just like the stumbling I had grown accustomed to. But I believed somehow that this prayer could come true if I could expand like the sky. The sun is hot and burns, overwhelming our skin and our eyes, but the stars flicker in the darkness. The multitude of stars flicker in the darkness. I made this one this morning. It's called Tracks. Here we go. It wasn't your boots that left the trail or your snowshoes, now framed against the wall, your family photo. Telling tales of how you arrived, your tracks didn't show as you crossed that cold lake with a bucket of fish in hand. New York City has heels, stilettos, pumps, different degrees in shoes, and lack of heat, but I never saw your feet there. I traveled like a troubadour in the Western Hemisphere looking for love. There's nothing less inspiring than a stiletto breaking at the heel when crawling like a sidewinding crawdad into a cab. Stuck in the crooked corner of the street, I envision those shoes climbing in beside me. Round and irregular like two-dimensional wicker baskets, but crafts were never your thing. And perhaps you are wiser than me. You wouldn't have worn heels. But you would be laughing beside me in this cab, one lopsided foot beside two rounded feet, both in the Western Hemisphere with very different feet. Mine imitate travel while yours navigate. I wander down streets, hailing cabs, catching planes, crossing on ferries. You conquer the last unconquered locations, just to see nothing again. You say you like the quiet, I tell you I hate the city. These places like New York, Chicago, aren't really for me, but you simply laugh, nod your head, and silently disagree. Perhaps people are like potted plants, finicky with our soil, stubborn with our waterings. Perhaps a plant uprooted can still feel the heavy weight of northern dirt pulling its footing. You invited me for Thanksgiving, and I know my ornament will be on your tree, a sparkly bright thing, misfitting for a wildlife theme, pointed antlers, fishhooks, and beads. I'll return, I'm sure, when there's nothing left to see between the stretching city and the trail of your tracks.